contribute to the development of a system that would be very practical for our growers to not only protect their farm and their environment, but also help take care of a problem, the pesticide waste, in a way that is fairly cheap and affordable.
Welcome to the Farming Smarter podcast. My name is Jamie Putchinger, and I'm the assistant manager there. We've given Ken the day off. I figure we have made him do enough of these episodes, so he's passing the buck over to me today. And I'm in studio here with Dr. Claudia Sheedy from AAFC, which is Agriculture and Agri-Food Canada. And we're going to talk about a research project that we have going on, along with some extension, I guess, as well, on biobeds and the rinsate that you create on farm just by doing some chemical applications. So Claudia, if you don't mind, maybe tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yes, I'm Claudia. I'm a research scientist with Agriculture and Agri-Food Canada since 2005 here in Lethbridge, and my research is in environmental chemistry. So the lab that I'm leading is looking at the fate and transport of agricultural contaminants into the environment, especially water. And we also look at, at things like pesticides, antimicrobials, and hormones in water, but also in soil and sediments and their movement beyond.
And so what got you interested in this sort of field?
Well, I'm very interested in pesticides, but I'm also very interested in protecting the environment. And I thought it was very interesting to put those two objectives together and then developed or contribute to the development of a system that would be very practical for our growers to not only protect their farm and their environment, but also help take care of a problem, the pesticide waste, in a way that is fairly cheap and affordable.
So could you maybe explain to us exactly what a biobed is and what it looks like?
Sure. You can think of a biobed as a bit of a septic tank, but above ground for the most part. But basically, it's the same principle applies as a septic tank. So it looks like a box, and inside that box, there's a mix, what we call the biomixture. The biomixture is a mixture of topsoil, of straw, or wood chips, and peat or compost. You mix those three matrices together to form the biomixture. And you trickle through that biomixture the pesticide rinsate from the sprayers. And that way the microbes that are naturally present in the biomixture will degrade the pesticides. And the biomix can also retain the pesticides within itself so that they are more available for microbial degradation. And at the end of the process, you have what we call the effluent, and that effluent can be recycled. It can be used to water or irrigate hedges or a green strip, for example.
Okay, so when you're looking at implementing a system like this, what are some of the main components? You know, you've talked about the boxes of where the mixtures go, but is that the whole system? Is there more to it?
There is more to it. And Agriculture and Agri-Food Canada has published a manual, a construction manual for building those biobeds, and most of the information is there. But in a simpler manner, the biobed, you have the biobed itself, but you need a collection tank for the rinsate, so that you can't apply the rinsate directly from the sprayer. It has to be held in a container of some kind. If you are away from your main yard, the farm's yard, you will need electricity to run the pumps that will apply the rinsate onto the biobeds. And if you are in your yard, you'll probably want to have a collection system for the final effluent as well. And of course, to apply the rinsate drip-wise onto the biobeds, you'll need a system to either a hose with holes in it so that the rinsate can trickle through the biobed and not applied at a rate that is way too fast.
Okay. So the collection pad, so if they're emptying out their sprayer, then is it important the material, or is there a number of different ways that they can empty those tanks and get it into the rinsate collection tank?
I think there are many ways for the sprayer's rinsate to be collected. You can Agriculture and Agri-Food Canada has developed two collection systems. One is a mobile trough, so you can build the trough underneath the sprayer's boom, collect the rinsate, and direct it into the collection tank. We also have a system with a collection pad, so it's a cement pad onto which the sprayer drives, and then there is a drain at the bottom, and the rinsate is pumped into the collection tank that way. So these are the two systems, and with Farming Smarter, we've also discussed a collection trough dug directly into the field.
Right, and then you would just line that with some sort of impermeable plastic layer, and again, slope it accordingly so that you can pump it into the rinsate tank.
Exactly.
Some of the products that you've looked at that have flown through or been processed through the system, is there products that you're seeing that are maybe moving through the system too quickly?
Yes, there are a few pesticides that are not retained or degraded in the biobed system, as well as the others. I would say the vast majority of the pesticides, especially the herbicides, tend to be removed 100%. So we don't see them in the final effluent. But the herbicide clopyralid is a bit more problematic. We can only remove 60 to 70%. It's still better than nothing, but we're working hard to improve that removal efficiency. Azoxystrobin is a fungicide that doesn't seem to be removed as efficiently as other fungicides on a yearly basis. So some years we don't see it in the effluent, some years it seems to appear a bit more. We remove about 80% of the azoxystrobin. And there's also bentazone, a herbicide that is very mobile. Bentazone is known to contaminate groundwater. So it's not very surprising, but it does move through the system. It moves a bit too fast to be fully retained or degraded. Bentazone, we might be able to remove about 70%.
And you're currently working on additional ways to try and improve the efficiencies and pull those out. Are you seeing any success with anything you're working on?
Yes, I actually just had results last week about that. So we do have two projects looking at developing microbial inoculants that are naturally present in soils of southern Alberta. And we've isolated 6 potential microbes that can degrade clopyralid or use clopyralid as their main source of food. And so we're continuing that work, and we're hoping to formulate an inoculant that we could use for field studies, where we would do what is called bioaugmentation, where you mix the inoculant with the soil at the edge of a field, and you're hoping that will prevent the movement of clopyralid, for example, into the nearby waterways.
Very interesting. So these biobed systems aren't something that are new. They're quite widespread throughout Europe. Why is it, do you think, that we're not seeing the uptake in Canada in particular?
I'd love to have the answer to your question, but I don't. I'm not exactly sure. I think in Europe, the farms are typically smaller than they are in Western Canada, more diverse as well. And then, of course, they have very diverse climate as well within Europe. So I think the idea started there, and then it expanded. And countries like Germany do have some regulations regarding pesticide waste. And it is to the advantage of growers there to have or use a biobed. And I think that's why two commercial biobeds are available in Europe. They're not available here yet. Bayer is working on a system, but they're fairly expensive, and there's a lot of engineering involved. So that's it could be a turn-off for certain growers that want a simpler system. But I think now that there's publications for biobeds in Canada, especially in the prairies, we have 6 experimental biobeds that have been built since 2012. We have data, scientific data, that is supporting the use of biobeds. I think, and working with Farming Smarter, making it readily available for growers, I think will make a big difference. So the technology is there, and it's very simple. I would say it's fairly cheap. It can be funded by the under cap, and therefore I think they will become a lot more common.
Great. So with Farming Smarter's project, we actually have been looking at implementing a system on our site as well, so that all of our research materials are being biofiltered through these biobeds as well. And with this project, Farming Smarter has the goal of making sure that all of the rinsate that Farming Smarter produces on our field site is going to be filtered, but we're also going to build into that the education piece for growers. And with that, we are building a mobile system. So this mobile system will be on a trailer, and it will mimic the real system, only in a smaller scale. So we've got a 14-foot aluminum trailer, and it will have it'll be self-enclosed as opposed to the real system, so that we can run water through the system and show growers how the system will truly function. And so there'll be an extra water storage tank on it, but it'll have all the other components that the real system will have. So it'll have a pretend rinsate storage container, and then it'll also have the same pumps and plumbing as the real system, along with the 2 big tanks for the biomixture. However, on the trailer, because of weight issues, we decided that we're going to not fill it with the biomixture that you've talked about, which is the mix of straw or wood chips, the peat or compost, and then topsoil. So we're gonna try and figure out a system where we're just running it as lightweight as possible to keep the trailer, so that we can keep it on the road and moving it throughout the province. And then it's also, like I said, self-contained, so we don't have to worry about the soil or particles, clogging the system. And the other thing with the trailer is we're adding the spray boom to show growers, when they're emptying their sprayer, the trough system and how that will also work. So it will have sort of the whole system built onto the small 14-foot trailer, and the plumbing will all mimic the real system. So if growers are interested, they can take the trailer home, and if they're going to implement their system, they can sort of follow the plumbing just on a larger scale when they go to install on their farm.
I think it's a fantastic idea. Yeah, I do believe that kind of project is a game changer for biobeds in Canada, and especially in Western Canada.
So with our climate, the way it is in southern Alberta in particular, are there any adaptations that you guys have suggested? I know we talked about heat tape and things like that and putting a roof over it. Can you give us some sort of information on what that is and why we would do it?
Sure. Yes, in Europe, typically they have a longer growth season, and in some countries much warmer than here. So they operate often throughout the year. So there's no need in that case for heating the biomixture. But we noticed very early on that having a source of heat within the biomixture extends the use of the biobeds by at least 6 weeks. So I'd say 3 to 4 weeks in the spring and 2 to 4 weeks in the fall. And that's because once the microbes who can use the pesticides as their source of food, they work better at higher temperature, above 20 degrees Celsius, for example. So having initially we had a solar system, a solar panel that was basically heating water circulating through the system. But now we're using heat tape that is laid directly into the biomix, into the biobed, and that seems to work very, very well. It's very simple to use, but of course it does take a bit of electricity, so that's something that growers may want to think about when they want to build a biobed. But it's definitely extending the use of the biobed in a season, so growers can biofiltrate a lot more of their rinsate or their pesticide waste, so it's very useful. And for Western Canada and most of Canada, I would strongly suggest or strongly recommend that heat tape is used within the biobeds or a heating system of some kind. Because we do have heavy rains here and there, Alberta is, especially southern Alberta, is maybe drier than other locations in the prairies. but heavy rains can cause flooding of the biomixture. The microbes who degrade pesticides tend to be aerobic, so they need air, they need oxygen. And if the biomixture is flooded, then it becomes an anaerobic process. It's definitely not as efficient to remove or to degrade the pesticides because the microbes are not as active. So we do suggest some kind of cover. It could be as simple as a tarp that you put on if there are heavy rains. We also use the same lid or cover in winter because it's very windy around Lethbridge. So the biomix at the surface of the biobed, if it's not protected, some of it can go away. And because we apply a lot of pesticides, it's a good thing to prevent its movement further away. But it's mostly for rain, the lid or the cover or some kind of roof is very useful.
So I know with our biobeds this summer that we implemented, we also seeded plants on top. Can you talk a little bit about why we would do that?
There are several reasons. The first one actually is to the rhizosphere, so where those plants grow and their roots are growing into the biomixture, is a very thriving environment for microbes. It's a very rich environment because there are a lot of roots exudates, and that allows the microbes to grow faster and better and healthier. And you get a higher diversity of microbes as well that can degrade those pesticides. So it's a very rich environment, and it promotes degradation of the pesticides within the biomixture. That's the first reason and the main one. But the other reason is it serves as a very visual indicator of the biobed functions. If typically on a double system we have two biobeds, they're seated exactly in the same manner, and yet there's growth on the second biobed only. And that's because the first biobed has been doing its job and removing enough of the pesticide residues in the rinsate so that when it's applied on the second biobed, there's plenty of growth possible. So then you get a visual indicator that that your biobed is working and is degrading enough of the pesticide residues to allow growth. And it's kind of nice because it's visual and you know right away that it's working. And if the grass was not growing on your second biobed, then you know you have a problem. There's something that is not being degraded or taken care of. We would love to develop visual indicators for fungicide and insecticide degradation. We're actually working on some systems, but they couldn't be as direct as the plant growth on top of the biobed surface.
The system seems really, practical, and you've done your research, seems super functional, and that it has been clearly shown that it implements well. What do you see the uptake being in the next 3 to 5 years with growers here in Southern Alberta?
I think that's a very good question. I'm hoping the uptake will be good because those systems are easy to build, they're practical, and they serve a very useful purpose. On the other hand, I think we've developed a very good system for the prairies that can accommodate a huge diversity of herbicides and of the insecticides and fungicides used in the prairies. But we have a lot more work to do to accommodate other types of cropping systems. So orchards and vineyards are two that we're targeting in our research currently. So in orchards and vineyards, the growers are using a lot more fungicides and insecticides than, let's say, typical prairie cropping systems would. And that's going to impact the microbes in the biomixture. So we have more work, more research to do to ensure that these cropping systems are covered and that biobeds are applicable to those systems as well. But in the prairies, the data is there, the science has been done, and we're continuing. And I think there's huge opportunities to improve the system and adapt it to the growers' needs. And I think Farming Smarter is contributing to do that as well. So I'm hoping the uptake is gonna be there in the next few years.
So Farming Smarter's goal with this project is to see a minimum 50 farms applying this system in the next few years. And considering we have so few in place at this point, I think that getting the trailer out there, which is going to help showcase, the simplicity of this system to farmers and its implementation as well, and establishing this system on their farm. We're hoping that different counties across the province will also be able to show this trailer to their growers within their regions and expand, our reach as Farming Smarter is primarily focused in southern Alberta.
I think cost is one of the issues typically with those systems, and the larger biobeds we've built cost us up to $12,000, and that's a big expense for a grower. But I think with Farming Smarter and that quote they have with Southern Irrigation, we're talking less than $5,000, and I think that's much more feasible. It's cheaper system, and it's just as good, and therefore I think that's going to help with adoption as well.
All right. So if you're listening today and you're enjoying what you're hearing and your interest is piqued by using a rinsate biobed, please contact Farming Smarter. You can reach out through our website, farmingsmarter.com. We have a bunch of information on our project pages. So if you go under the Growing New Ideas tab, there is a project page for pesticide rinsate biobeds. And on there, we're going to include information about this project, including the quote from Southern Irrigation, and we're probably going to try and get infographic together to give you a quick outline of the setup and how it's going to function. We'll also have a VR or a 360 experience that we did with Lethbridge College. They're involved in this project, and it gives a really good overview of the system and great photos and a close-up look at what's actually happening on this system. Well, I would like to thank you, Claudia, for joining me in studio today. I appreciate you taking the time to share your extensive knowledge about pesticide rinsate biobeds and, of course, all the chemical background and what goes into these systems. So thank you very much for your time.
Well, thank you, Jamie, for having me today, and I hope the biobed project will attract a lot of attention.
If anyone has any more information that they're looking for on Farming Smarter or the projects that we're doing, please check out farmingsmarter.com. You can sign up to our mailing list and keep updated on projects and all the things that we have going on. You can also subscribe to our new packages. So if you're an agronomist or a farmer, we have some dedicated packages for you to continue your learning through Farming Smarter. And we really appreciate you taking the time to join us and check out some of the other podcasts that we have with Ken.